Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today we continue the emotional, breathless, and intense journey of the single mother, Dieuhan. After enduring countless hardships, a new chapter is about to begin, and this time, the truth will no longer remain hidden. Since leaving Mr. Chin's house, Tan and the two young men who had quietly supported Dieuhan and her son began to execute a risky and dangerous plan. They didn't head home right away. Instead, they secretly returned to the old house of Mr. Chin to set a trap and wait for the thief. And just as they predicted, Phuc, a man with a criminal record, and the one Dieuhan feared the most, had caught wind of the rumor about the money in Mr. Chin's hands. He crept toward the house, eyes darting around like a predator stalking its prey. Seeing nothing suspicious, he cautiously entered. Without a single greeting, he marched in and growled at Mr. Chin, demanding the debt be paid immediately before the police showed up. Mr. Chin, now trembling and pale-faced, was clearly terrified. He didn't have the money. Everything was part of a setup, a plan he devised with the help of the two brave young men to trap this dangerous man. Knowing he couldn't reason with Phuc, Mr. Chin stalled for time, saying that Than and Thee were on their way with the cash. Phuc frowned, clearly skeptical. He sat down, fidgeting restlessly, one hand clutching his old jacket, where he always kept a weapon, like a hidden threat waiting to explode. Time passed. No one came. Phuc grew impatient. He suddenly pulled a steel hammer from his jacket pocket and snarled, "I'm not joking anymore, give me the money. Or else." Just then, a faint noise echoed from behind. Phuc turned, but too late. The burst from the shadows, delivering a powerful blow that staggered Phuc backward. Than rushed in, and together they grabbed him from both sides, locking his arms. A fierce struggle broke out. Phuc, with his superior strength and powerful arms, fought back violently, making it hard for the two men to restrain him. Eventually, he broke free, gasping for air, and sprinted out the door. The Than chased after him, pounding footsteps echoing in the quiet. Phuc reached a grassy clearing, soaked in sweat and panting hard. His legs were giving out, heart pounding like a drum. Then he tripped over a mound of earth and crashed into the wet grass. That was the moment. The leapt forward, not wasting a second. He threw his full weight onto Phuc, pinning him down to the ground. Phuc struggled wildly, but this time there was no escape. Just when the situation seemed to be spiraling out of control, the sound of a motorcycle engine echoed through the air. Two local police officers, having received the tip-off from Than and Thee, arrived just in time. Without a second of hesitation, they jumped off the bike and charged forward like lightning. Together with Than and Thee, they cornered Phuc, leaving him with absolutely no way out. All four men pinned him down, while Phuc thrashed about wildly, like a beast trapped in its final moments. But this time, all his efforts were in vain. The officers moved in swiftly, snapped cold steel handcuffs onto his wrists, and without saying a word, dragged him to the motorbike and rode off toward the police station. The roar of the engine slowly faded into the distance, leaving behind a silence filled with reflection. Than turned to Thee, concern in his eyes. "Are you hurt?" The nodded, wincing slightly but managing a faint smile. "Just a few scratches. I'm fine." After that brief exchange, the two made their way back to Mr. Chin's house, determined to arrest him as well, suspecting that he may have a hand in Phuc's crimes. No one had expected the old man to be so deeply entangled, but when they arrived, the place was completely empty, cold and lifeless. Mr. Qin had fled. Seizing the moment, Tan was ready to give chase, but they held him back, placing a hand on his shoulder, his voice soft but firm. Let it go. He's still Uyan's stepfather. I don't want her to be hurt even more. You understand, right? Than paused. There was hesitation in his eyes, but then he nodded. He understood and respected Li's decision. They looked at him, then said sincerely, "You've helped me so much from Han's situation to everything today. I truly appreciate it." Tan smiled, patting Li on the shoulder. "We just did what was right." The two men stood side by side, saying little, but their eyes spoke volumes. Then they turned to leave, his gaze resolute. "You and Han, go back to the city. I need to head to the police station, follow up on Vuk's case, and prepare the full report." Tan Och nodded. The two shook hands one last time, a farewell, and a silent vow that they had stood together on the side of what's right. While outside, the police, along with Han and Li, were struggling to confront Fuch. Inside Huang's small house, Han couldn't sit still. She sat by the window, staring anxiously at the front gate. The early morning breeze slipped through the cracks in the window, only deepening her worry. Han whispered to herself, "Where is Tan? Why isn't he back yet? Did something happen?" Every sound from outside made her jump. She looked at the clock, then out the window again. Just then, the familiar sound of a motorbike echoed outside the gate. Han rushed out, both relieved and nervous. The gate creaked open. Tan stepped in, his face covered in sweat and road dust. Han ran to him, her voice trembling. "Where have you been? I was so worried." Tan looked at her and smiled softly, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. "I just had something to take care of. It's done now." Before she could ask anything more, Tan suddenly brightened up and said, "Ah, I've got news that'll make you really happy." "What is it?" she asked quickly. Tan grinned wide. "It's about Uyan. You don't have to worry anymore." Fuk was caught this morning. Han's mouth fell open, stunned for a few seconds. Then her voice shook as she spoke. Really? That's such a relief. I was so scared he'd come back and hurt Uyan again. But now that he's caught, I feel so much better." Tan nodded, his eyes warm. "I know you were worried, but now everything's okay. Uyan is safe. And you should stop stressing so much." Han gave a soft smile for the first time in days. Her eyes sparkled like sunlight breaking through clouds. Tan gently took her hand. "So shall we go back to Jack-Lak? Let's close this difficult chapter. Let's start over, just us." Han nodded, her voice small but sure. "Yes, let me finish packing." Tan looked at her, his eyes glistening not from sorrow but from happiness. "Okay, once you're done, we'll stop by to say goodbye to Huang and An. They've helped us so much." Han nodded again, and in the soft morning light, she turned back toward the house, her hand still tightly holding Tan's, as if afraid of losing the most precious thing she had just found. The next morning, in the small house where Huang's family was staying, Dieuhan and Tan were already up early. They quietly packed their belongings, each shirt, each little toy of Tom's carefully folded and placed into the suitcase. They sat waiting in the small living room. Right at that moment, the familiar sound of a motorbike rumbled outside. Huang had returned home. He stepped in, surprised to see the two of them all packed up. "Huh? What's going on? You guys packing already? Planning to go somewhere?" Han looked up and gave a gentle smile, her eyes slightly apologetic. "Yes. Fuch was arrested, so we finally feel safe. We're planning to go back to Jack-Lak today." Huang froze for a second, then let out a soft laugh. Leaving so soon? Why not stay a few more days and relax? I haven't even taken you guys out to see anything yet. Than stepped in, his voice warm but resolute. We'd love to stay longer, but we've got some personal things to take care of back home. It's time we return to our normal lives. Huang nodded, a trace of regret in his eyes, but he understood. Some people come and go, and this departure was to find a new beginning. Than lifted Tom into his arms. The little boy, still drowsy, rubbed his eyes, not fully aware of what was happening. From the kitchen, Anne stepped out. You're leaving already, hon? I didn't even get the chance to cook something nice for you. One last time. Han's eyes shimmered with emotion. Thank you so much, Chi. You and An Huang gave me and Tom a place to stay in our hardest days. Then, everyone exchanged goodbyes. Than carried Tom and walked with Han out to the car that was already waiting outside. And just like that, after so many days of running, of living in fear and tears, Dieuhan could finally smile. A real smile, one that came from the heart. Phuc, the man who haunted her, was finally behind bars. The days of constantly looking over her shoulder had come to an end. By her side now was Than, a man who never hesitated to risk his own safety to protect her and Tom. And there was Tom, her little light, the reason she kept moving forward. But would this new life in Jaklak truly be peaceful, as she hoped? Would the wounds inside her heart ever truly heal? Or behind this calm were new challenges already waiting? What about Ongqin? Had he really fled? Or was he still hiding somewhere waiting to strike again? Stay tuned for the next chapter where the unanswered secrets will begin to unfold. Dieuhan's journey is far from over.
Nói rồi mọi người chào nhau. Thành lấy tôm cùng Hân ra chiếc xe ô tô đã đậu sẵn ở ngoài. Và như thế, sau bao ngày chạy trốn, sống trong sợ hãi và nước mắt, Diệu Hân cuối cùng có thể mỉm cười, một nụ cười thực sự từ trái tim. Kẻ đã từng ám ảnh cô, Phúc đã bị bắt, những ngày tháng nơm nớp lo sợ cuối cùng cũng đã khép lại. Bên cạnh cô bây giờ là Thành, người đàn ông đã không ngại nguy hiểm để bảo vệ mẹ con cô. Và Tôm, ánh sáng bé nhỏ luôn khiến cô mạnh mẽ bước tiếp. Thế nhưng liệu cuộc sống mới ở Đắk Lắk có thực sự êm đềm như cô mong muốn? Liệu những vết thương trong lòng có dễ lành lại? Hay phía sau sự yên bình ấy là những thử thách mới đang chờ đợi? Ông chính, người đã bỏ trốn, hay vẫn đang ẩn nấp ở đâu đó để chuẩn bị một điều tồi tệ hơn?